Thank you for listening to the BJJ Brick Podcast. We'll be bringing you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and good times. We hope to flatten your Jiu-Jitsu learning curve, help you get the most out of your grappling ability, and meet your goals both on and off the mat.
Welcome back, my friends, to the BJJ Brick Podcast. This is episode 265. This week we have Romero Jacare Cavalcanti. I'm here with my good buddies, Gary and Joe. Gentlemen, let's briefly exchange pleasantries.
How are you today, Byron and Joe?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
I am also doing quite well. Thank you, guys.
That is great. We're all doing well. I'm happy for that.
That's how we always start the show, by a brief exchange of pleasantries. So why not just call it out like it is? And there we go. An awkward beginning. But yeah, I'm excited about this show. Legendary grappler, legendary person in the community of Jiu-Jitsu, founder of the Alliance Jiu-Jitsu Team. You could say arguably the best Jiu-Jitsu team that there's been, if you add up all the awards and that sort of thing. So amazing accomplishments. Some of the top grapplers y'all think of when you think of amazing grapplers have come out of the Alliance system. And he talks a lot about building that team and a lot about kind of what's going on behind the scenes and what he looks for. And then, of course, I wanted to talk to him about like the non-competitor side of jiu-jitsu and how he builds that part of his team and what that means to him. And sure enough, even, a successful competition team like Alliance, most people don't compete. Most of the people are there having a good time learning jiu-jitsu and, working full-time jobs and having families and that sort of thing. Small percent compete, but they are doing very well when they do it. So I just think he's a fascinating person and an honor to get him on the show.
He's been doing jiu-jitsu so long, he probably doesn't even remember his first year in jiu-jitsu, but I remember mine, and I remember that it was a little bit overwhelming. There was a lot to learn. Of course, this was back in the days before audiobooks, but nowadays we live in a day and age where you can get an audiobook to help you with your first year in BJJ. Byron, would you know anything about that?
Yeah, I have actually constructed an audiobook about your first year of BJJ. It's a little over 2.5 hours long. It's $11.99. The money goes and helps support the show and keep it growing strongly. And I really hope to help get you through some of those hurdles that are some common things that people get presented with their first year. The first chapter, find the right gym, all the way up to if you want to compete, kind of rounding out the book there. So it covers a wide spectrum of different topics that you'll run into your first year. I think one of the more important chapters is based on techniques and focusing on the right thing. And listen to the Jacare interview here coming up in a few minutes. And they have a beginner's course, which is awesome. So if you're in Jacare's beginner's course, the technique portion may not be such a big deal because he's got those focus on. But a lot of schools don't run beginner's courses. And so you walk in your first day, you learn the spider guard sweeps. You're like, okay, well, this is tricky. I kind of got to figure it out a little bit, but it never works because, you're on your second day trying to figure out how to do a spider guard sweep. And so I think really that chapter on focusing on the right things, even amongst things that are important to learn, but maybe a little bit frustrating at the time. I think that's a key chapter towards finding success and happiness with your jiu-jitsu and realizing, I may not be in a beginner's class, but here's some things I need to focus on. Maybe just the core idea of the technique versus worrying about all the little things and trying to get everything perfect. That's further down the road. You need to understand why the sweep works, maybe, or maybe how you're just off balancing somebody. But it's an audiobook that we have. It's much like a podcast, and you'll find a link to it in the show notes where you can get it, and hopefully it helps you out, my friends. We have off-the-mat lessons. A lot of times we'll drag them onto the mat and kind of explain them and talk to them about something that we've observed in real life and how that could translate to jiu-jitsu. This one we're doing reverse. A jiu-jitsu lesson that I'm able to drag off the mat and talk a little bit about, what you might have learned from that example or situation that you could take off to your regular life. Doing jiu-jitsu this morning. Had a great time. We were doing a spider guard kind of situation where you obtain spider guard, do some stuff, and then end up getting an omoplata. Really nice sequence that we were doing. It came time to roll, and I grabbed a guy named Brian, and he goes in the spider guard. I'm like, sweet. And he starts looking like he's going to set up an omoplata. I'm like, perfect. I even said, hey, this is awesome. You're doing great. but I'm still fighting him. I'm still working. And right when I got to get ready to defend the omoplata, he slapped on a triangle. It's like, oh, like he just outsmarted me. Like I was looking one way and he went the other way. And it wasn't because he had just tried four omoplatas in a row. It was the kind of the pretext of what had happened earlier in the day that had me thinking that. And it was like I was looking left and he went right. And it's kind of funny, and it just goes to say. And he told me afterwards, like, I do a triangle from there. That's what I like to do from there. So it wasn't like he was doing anything unusual for himself. It was just my head wasn't in the correct game that he was playing. And I just think that was a good situation where I was thinking in the box, and he was really thinking inside of his own box, but those boxes didn't really match up that well. And I think anytime that you are certain something's going to happen and it doesn't happen, it kind of throws you for an extra loop, and acknowledge that what's happening, and hey, I'm not having to defend a omoplata anymore. I'm having to defend a triangle, which is great. But I think that could happen to us in real life. We could all be expecting, this to happen to us and have like very little defense and be very caught off guard if something else happens to you.
It's funny you mentioned that, Byron. I was rolling the other day, and a lot of the guys I roll with, when we get north-south and we hit that Kimura, if they're defending their arm and we're having trouble getting the Kimura, the majority of the guys I train with fall to their hip and fall to their hip, pull the guy up into a turtle, put a foot on the hip, and finish a Kimura from there. And that's probably what 90% of us do. We're, my gym that we train. And there's another guy who trains with us, and he really likes the armbar from that position. But I had just defended 3 or 4 triangles from that position, and I'm going with this guy who's, only been training a year. And, I'm all ready to defend, and I was going to pass and, re-Kimura him off the pass. But he fell back for an armbar, and I fell in the same position. And, I was so happy that he hit it with me. It's, I just was, short-sighted. I just thought everybody was going to do the same thing, and same thing. He outsmarted me, and it was a cool time on the mat, and I definitely learned something from it. And, I got to keep an open mind and realize that there's different paths we can take from each position, and I need to be aware of all of them.
That was a good lesson, Byron. I like it. It's easy sometimes to project your game onto somebody else, and you just assume that this is because what you do, that's what they're going to do. But, man, I like surprises. Yeah.
Well, on the mat, they're better than I think off the mat. You get a surprise driving somewhere is usually a bad thing. But that's why we wear seatbelts. You got to be safe. You got to be anticipating something that could happen that's not on the plan. So, good job on my friend Brian for sneaking up on me and throwing up a triangle when I was expecting an omoplata. But it was cool.
The one thing you said, Byron, is that Brian outsmarted you.
Absolutely.
And I was about to interject, but I thought I'd let you finish, but I don't think that's too hard to do.
Well, Gary, like if you're, what is it, when you're debating somebody and they're making the case for you, you don't interrupt them, you let them go. When your enemies are destroying themselves, you let them work hard. So, wise move, Gary.
Why, thank you. But I actually wasn't very smart, so I was not thinking the way you were thinking, that I'm going to let you destroy yourself. So, I lost on that one. I wasn't. I anticipated my move, not your move.
You got to think where the puck's going to be, not where the puck is, Gary. That's a famous quote by Wayne Gretzky.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I like it.
We have another quote, though.
Who's this one from?
Well, the quote of the week is from Thomas Jefferson. Nothing gives one person so much advantage over another as remaining always cool and unruffled under all circumstances. Man, so some quotes you kind of have to drag them back on the mat and like really get them to fit. No, this is great for jiu-jitsu. If you could remain calm and cool and collected the entire time you're grappling, you're going to do well. I mean, you're engaged in the thinking process and you're doing well. But like I think this one is more talking about the psychological warfare that's happening on the mats.
Well, remember when you first started, we really didn't know the different positions we were getting into. We didn't know when we were in trouble. So I can tell you when I first started, I was not calm, cool, or collected. Anytime somebody touched me, I was, stiff, spazzing out, muscling way too much. I was not unruffled. I was ruffled, more like, under every circumstance. And, as time went on, I learned, hey, let's stay calm, cool, and collected. I could roll a lot longer. I made a lot less mistakes, and I had a lot more fun.
Yeah, I think jiu-jitsu kind of teaches you this lesson in two different ways. One of them, Gary, is like you're saying, that's the most obvious way, and the way that we get taught every day is when you're rolling with people who are bigger, stronger, better than you, whatever the case may be, and you're put in really uncomfortable positions, and you got to not panic, and you got to just stay calm and look for solutions. But another way that we learn this lesson in jiu-jitsu is sometimes you have a tough night all around and another tough night all around. And sometimes it's easy to sort of lose your cool and get out of sorts just because it can get frustrating. In fact, we had an email from a listener earlier today. I don't know if you guys saw it, but, he's a little frustrated because he's been doing jiu-jitsu for a couple of years and he's training with just a few training partners and he doesn't feel like he's getting any better. And I think that's another way that we learn this lesson is we learn to just stick with things and just keep plugging away, and you work hard and the results will come. And so, and that's true off the mat as well. Sometimes you're in an occupation, you're at a job where it's not rewards day after day after day, and you got to struggle and you got to stick with it and let the good times come when it's time for them to come.
Joe, you were talking about taking it off the mat, and I'm a big proponent of what I learn on the mat. Definitely helps me off the mat. But one thing this quote made me start thinking about, always remain cool and unruffled under all circumstances. And I think I do a very good job at that on the mat. Even if I'm getting beat pretty badly, I stay calm, cool, collected. I know I'm learning. If I'm in a bad position, I stay calm and cool and collected to hopefully make my way, find my way out of that position. But the crazy thing is, off the mat, I find not at home more like, but at work. Sometimes I'm just bombarded every direction at work, and I do not stay as calm, cool, and collected as I do on the mat. And I need to now, since we're seeing that quote, I need to figure out why I can do it so well on the mat, but I don't do it as well at work. And, it's something, I think I'm a black belt at work. I've been doing it for a long time. I've had a lot of success, but for some reason I can get ruffled at work, and something I need to work on and take my lessons from the mat and make my work life better.
Man, a lot of benefits to jiu-jitsu, and just kind of highlighting some with the quote there from Thomas Jefferson. That's a great quote. Hey, we got the interview coming up with Jacare. Real quick, I want to mention that interview ends a little bit abruptly. What's going on is he's waiting for a delivery person to show up and deliver some stuff. And he's like, I can do it now, but I got this guy who I don't know when he's going to be here. I was like, that's great, let's do it. And he's like, hey, delivery guy is here, I got to go. And that was pretty much how it ended. I'd like to say goodbye to Jacare. No, I was kidding. But so just heads up, it kind of ends a little bit more abruptly than typical. And just if you want to get a hold of him or anything, he didn't get a chance to really say much of contact stuff. I guess he said a little bit of that, but there'll be stuff in the show notes about following him and the team there if that's something that you're interested in. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. And we'll go ahead and roll the interview with Jacare. He is the most interesting grappler in the world.
Ronda Rousey's mom taught him a few judo throws in exchange for some armbar tips. In the finals of his most recent tournament, he was stuck in a triangle. He managed to take a selfie and post it on Facebook before escaping. He can call an IBJJF referee anytime, day or night, to find out what condition his condition is in.
Dropped in to see what condition my condition was in.
Yeah, oh yeah, what condition my condition was in.
I don't always listen to podcasts, but when I do, I prefer the BJJ Brick podcast.
I pushed my soul.
Stay sweaty, my friends.
Okay, my friends, I'm happy to bring Romero Jacare Cavalcanti to the BJJ Brick podcast. Jacare, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much for being on here. You're a legend in the sport. Jacare, we do have a lot of new people listening to this show. Could you give us a little bit of an introduction of kind of what you've done and maybe what you're up to now?
Well, I have been doing jiu-jitsu since I was a kid and up to these days.
Your belt rank is 8th degree black belt and it's white and red?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
Do you remember what year you became a black belt?
The year I became a black belt was in 1982, and I was the last person to be awarded a black belt from Rolls Gracie in 1982. In June, not in June, but a few months before 1982.
Wow.
In 1982, I'm sorry.
That's amazing experience, and to get a black belt from him, that's got to be an amazing feeling. You're also the founder of Alliance. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, after I graduated a black belt with Rolls, I worked with him. I was working with him, helping him out here and there with the kids and some class and also some private. But after he passed, I continued to train with Rickson and Rolls Gracie for a little while. And then that's when I decided to start, my own school. It began like Jacare Jiu-Jitsu around 1985. And then once I started to graduate, my students, Fabio Gurgel was my first black belt, awarded in 1989. And a few other guys. In 1992, we decided to form a team called the Alliance.
Arguably the most successful jiu-jitsu team that there is. What was that like, building that team, and what happened kind of behind the scenes that we don't all know about?
Well, everything was very natural. We started to have, a good competition team on top of some of the guys opening their own schools, and we decided to form a team to compete under one flag, and that's when we decided to form the Alliance, and is up to these days is the most successful team. We won 11 World Championships, 9 consecutive, and many other titles such as Brazilian Championships, European Championships, Pan American Championships, and other titles.
Jacare, looking back at the history of Alliance, what were you guys doing differently than the other teams to find your success?
Well, I don't think we're doing anything different. It just happened that we have a really good work ethics, and we have been forming a lot of people, such as Marcelo Garcia and Cobrinha and Lepre and all these guys. We provided the right environment for them to train and to succeed, and they have their own style. And Alliance, if you look at our main fighters, they don't have one specific style, but they have different styles. And we also have implemented a very good methodology. And this way, we are able to replicate that in our association, in our schools, providing the best environment for the guys to learn and teach BJJ.
Most people there competing, or do most people that go to an Alliance school there, especially the one in Atlanta, are most of them just doing this for fun and only a few people compete?
Yes, that's correct. Only maybe 10% or less of our students compete in tournaments. But, the majority of the guys that go to our schools, they're looking for the top jiu-jitsu to learn, learning the whole deal, such as self-defense and the regular jiu-jitsu. And, after they start, to train with us, they can, decide if they want to compete or if they just want to train, for fun, fitness and self-defense and etc.
For your competitors, was there different classes for them to take, or were they training with everybody all the time?
Well, no, we have our specific methodology, implemented in the majority of our schools. We have about 220 schools affiliated with us. From China to South America, we have many schools that teach Alliance Jiu-Jitsu. And, of course, we divide our students in levels. We have the fundamentals program for the beginners, guys from 0 to 60 class. And then we have our intermediate program where we have people from 60 class to 150 class. And in this class, when the guys start to spar and to be introduced, to the training, to the hard training, and after they become blue belts, they can go to any class. We also have our kids program, no gi program, and recently in Las Vegas, just the past weekend, we launched our competition program for the schools that want to have, this type of training. And this way, with these methodologies in place, we guide our guys, our students, and our instructors to teach the way we teach at the headquarters in Atlanta, São Paulo, and Rio de Janeiro.
Jacare, looking at your class structure, it sounds amazing. A lot of instructors out there don't have as many students in their facilities. Is it wise? I mean, obviously it's wise. What are the benefits to having a class that's designed for the fundamentals for somebody who's gone to 60 or less classes, and how does it help them better understand jiu-jitsu versus just throwing them in there with everybody else?
Well, because you cannot throw, someone, let's say in college, you don't begin, people, any type of schools, doesn't matter if it's college, volleyball, soccer, football, in the competition class. They have to start, from the beginning, learning, how is going to be their journey, guiding the guys for the first steps. And we show all the basics, all the self-defense. The guys not just put in any type of class and then learn, 3 or 4 techniques and that's it. You don't do this in the Army, you don't do this in college, in high school, or anywhere else. So we start, from the basics, from the beginning. And that's what we do. We start from the beginning, from the basics. After the student reach a certain level, we move them to an intermediate level. And after that, we move them to the advanced class. And once they are in the advanced class, we have a competition class / advanced. So if the guys want to, compete, they have to go through that routine of competition. If they don't want to compete and they already, purple belts or blue belts or brown belts, they just train in the advanced class. Make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense, and it sounds like a great way to break things down so that everybody is in the most learning environment that they could be in.
That's absolutely correct. It doesn't matter the size of your school. Once you structure your programs, you're going to grow. You're going to have, students in all levels. And one level start to feed the other level. And that's how it works. We start in, let's say, like I said before, in any school, level 1, and then you go level 2, level 3, level 4, and then, you finally graduate. In jiu-jitsu, you never graduate, you continue to train and evolve. There is not such an end, like in college, you receive your degree, you go to be a doctor, you go to be engineer or lawyer. In jiu-jitsu, you get your black belt, but you continue to train, until your body, says, okay, or you never stop. You're going to the end.
Jacare, what are some of the keys to stay on the mat as the years go by?
Oh, okay. It's the way you train. It's the way that you take care of yourself. Jiu-jitsu is a lifestyle. So if you are overweight, you need to lose weight. You need to be in shape for jiu-jitsu the best way you can. You need to feed your body nourishing with good stuff. And after a certain age, you don't. You try to eat as many junk food as possible. Have a good routine. If you hurt, you have to respect your limits. You have to sometimes do some physical therapy, do more techniques instead of hard training, and just keep training, trying to improve and not trying to prove, and compete, with the other students. You have to compete with you in order to evolve and in order to get better.
When in your journey did you start thinking about that?
Well, in the beginning, you don't have much control because, if you're young, you want to go all hard and you want to train really hard. But your body sometimes it starts to dictate the pace. If you have an injury and then you have to stop for a little while, take care of your knee, do a lot of physical therapy, do a lot of maintenance, something that, a lot of guys, they don't pay attention and they keep training until they break. And then it's too late. Maybe they're going to have, something more serious or they have to stop, for a long time. And then some of these guys, they don't have enough drive to come back and train. But, if you have the drive to keep going, to keep training, and that's the way you should go. Remember the percentage of the practitioners that get to the black belt is very, very, very slim. So for this reason, you need to learn how to train, and you need to learn how to take care of yourself and to self-motivate you to train and exercise on a regular basis.
Jacare, do you know how many black belts you've given away?
Man, for sure it's more than 200 black belts because I have been teaching since 1985. Among, some of them are, the notorious Fábio Gugel, Alexandre Paiva, so many that I graduate. I have been working in Atlanta for 22 years, and I have a bunch of black belts. Some of the guys like Chris Moriarty and Ian McPherson, they competed a lot. Alec Baldwin, Jonathan, his nickname is Macarrão, and many other guys. And some of my black belts, they don't like to compete. They just like to train. They go to the school on a regular basis, and they keep training up to these days. And in Brazil, I graduated a lot of people. I formed a lot of champions. Part of the team of the Alliance, we had, as everybody knows, a break, and they formed other teams like Checkmate, Leozinho, his brother Ricardo Vieira, and then we also have Brasa, but they all came from one place that was the old Jacare Jiu-Jitsu School or Alliance School subsequently, and this way I lost count on how many black belts I really graduated.
Yeah. What is the difference between a brown belt one day and a black belt the next? I guess another say is, what do you look for when you're giving somebody a black belt?
Well, you have to look at the total package. First, the guy must have integrity. The guy must be training hard, for many years. And you have to make sure that, when you give a black belt away, is a big responsibility, because that guy can be, can become an instructor, and then only being a black belt doesn't mean that you are automatically an instructor. you have, to do, like I said, the course, the methodology course that we have. You need to schedule or myself or one of my guys, for years before you become an instructor or, a professor or a black belt professor. But other than that, the guy must have all the qualities that the black belt needs to have. Like I said before, integrity and character and everything else.
I've got a question from one of our Patreon supporters, Paul. He was asking about you moving to California and what your plans are there.
Well, my plans are right now continue to work with Jiu-Jitsu. I left Leo Nogueira, that is a two-time world champion and many times Brazilian and European champion. I'm sorry. So he was in Atlanta with me for 3 years, teaching and learning, shadowing me in a regular basis. And now finally, after 40 years, maybe 30 years or plus, teaching every day in a regular basis, morning, afternoons, and evenings, I decided to relocate to California to be close to the beach and to try to expand my association that I have Fabio and Alexandre Paiva as partners, develop the methodology course a little bit more, expand the association with college from 220 schools to about maybe 500 to 600 schools in the next 5 years, and teach a few seminars here and there, but still going to Atlanta every other month and spend a week over there teaching and overseeing the school and continue, to evolve and help Jiu-Jitsu in general.
You talk about growing and getting more schools. If somebody's listening and they have a school that would be interested in becoming one of those, how would they do that?
Well, they can contact me through my association. Okay, AllianceBJJ.com is my website, or they can contact me over my school in Atlanta, 770-458-9825, or they can contact one of my managers, Ricardo Caloi or Adam Shields. I don't have their email address right now, but they can always send me a message on Facebook, through Messenger or WhatsApp or whatever. Yeah. And I immediately can get in touch with them and guide them, to the managers, and this way they can interview the guys and see what they need and try to accommodate their needs.
Well, I like how you talked about, you try to see what they need and how you could accommodate them and help them. That's such a great attitude to have towards serving people.
Yes, absolutely. Because, first, we need to see, if what they are looking for is what we offer. So we're trying to open some of our methodology course, to other schools to help, people in general. It's better to have people doing Jiu-Jitsu and teaching Jiu-Jitsu the proper way, the way that we think is correct, than to not teach, we have a bunch of schools not teaching absolutely correctly or guiding their students in the wrong direction.
So you've talked about the methodology course. What is that? Describe to me what that involves.
Well, involves, for instance, the person goes to your place and he never learned Jiu-Jitsu before. So the first relation that he makes between Jiu-Jitsu and anything else is not throughout the competition, but is the self-defense relation. and then we teach 3 intro class where the guy is going to learn some of the basic principles in jiu-jitsu. And after that, he's put in a program that we call fundamentals. So he goes in that program over 25 lessons consecutive, and then we repeat these lessons for about 60 times. So the 3 first class are one-on-one privates, and after that he's put in a group class. At the end of the class, after he learned, all the techniques that is in the lesson, he do a lot of role play, a lot of drills. He's not really training, sparring for real, but training with his partner the moves that he's been learning, in the class. And this way, we try to replicate the scenarios that he's going to face in the intermediate program when he's going to be introduced to the live sparring. So this program contains about 30 class repeated 3 times, okay? And after that, the guy is going to be tested for his blue belt. In this class, we teach every day a different subject, such as passing, the open guard, defending, the mount position, attacking side from the side, half guard, and all the stuff that you need to learn, to build your game. And this sparring is not so hard. It's maybe, 20 minutes total in the class. And after that, when the guy becomes a blue belt, then the class, turns much, much harder because he's going to be training with all the blue belts, purple belts, and etc.
So they're sparring in the first 60 classes, or is that the next 60 to 150?
In the first 60 class, the guy, they don't spar.
Okay.
They just, do drills and they do repetition of techniques. Let's say, you start jumping guard, or you start in some self-defense, such as escape from a headlock. And then we build, a drill after that, how you're going to do it. And then you do it each other, but not like sparring, like you're sparring a regular class. Just doing the techniques, whole play, training, the lessons that happens every day. And that's the way you start to be introduced to the sparring part. But after 60 class, you know exactly how to escape your hip. You don't make the mistake to try to choke the guy from inside the close guard. You learn, how to stand up properly. You learn, how to fall. You learn, everything, you learn a bunch of valuable self-defense. And then, after that, 60 times, you're ready to go to the next level. That is the sparring part, and then you learn one subject per class. And after you train the techniques, just like in a regular class, you're going to do, let's say, 4 rounds of 5 minutes or specific training, passing, defending the guard, or whatever, is in the program or in the mind of the instructor for that day.
And then your blue belts and up are all lumped together. So you have about 4 or 5 minute rounds for the kind of intermediate level. Once you get to the next class, how much time is spent rolling?
Well, the class normally lasts 1.5 hours to 2 hours, okay? And then, the guys in regular base, they train, for about 1 hour or at least, 45 to 50 minutes of sparring. On top of doing all the drills, all the techniques, all the warm-up, and etc.
Oh, it sounds like a great system you have to build, obviously build these amazing athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at most people that train, we're not training to become world-class athletes. We're just training and we're enjoying it, maybe for self-defense, maybe for fun. There's a number of reasons why people are out there. But most of us can't come in every day and train. Jacare, what advice do you have for somebody who can only train maybe 1 or 2 or maybe 3 times at most a week? How could they get the most out of their time?
That's the majority of the students in our school. They train, 2 or 3 times a week. Some guys, they train, of course, every day. But the majority of the guys that have a regular job, they train, 2 or 3 times a week. And, they just go and they just train and they just have fun. And they train, hard like everybody else. But, if the guy really want to compete, and then it's different. Then the guy trains, a minimum of 5 to 6 times a week, on top of doing some conditioning, on top of, going to the class that we consider competition class. And this way, the guys, they train, a little bit harder than the majority of the guys. But, there's no secret. The guy just needs, to enjoy the journey, to go to the school, in a regular basis. Don't try to prove anything, but try to just improve every day. And he don't need to look at how his partner are evolving, but how he's evolving. That's the beauty, and that's the secret for the guy to have fun.
Yeah, that's big. Look inside. Don't try to compare yourself to everybody out there. Why is it so important to have fun and enjoy this?
Well, because like anything else, if you don't have fun, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, it's hard for you to motivate yourself to continue. So you have to really be self-motivated to be doing something every day, like a lonely runner that, every day he goes to the beach and he runs, for miles, and he's having fun, he's enjoying. But, the majority of the people, they need a good group of people to train, a good environment, a positive environment, an environment that, he's surrounded by a really good instructor and by positive people. Not, that type of people that, goes over there and try to train hard, to hurt people, to prove something, to do something that, is going to disrupt the class. But on the contrary, the environment must be nice, must be fun. Everybody must have good vibes. At the end of a hard practice, sit on the side, talk to each other, do a few things together, maybe go to the fights together, or, do a barbecue together. People in Jiu-Jitsu, they become family, they become friends. They have a bond, that lasts for the rest of their life. I can assure you that my best friends that I found through Jiu-Jitsu.
You're such a unique person because you have so much experience on a different level as far as coaching like elite athletes and helping and promoting so many people to black belt. It's really an amazing honor to have you on here.
Thank you so much. My driver just stopped by.
Okay.
I'm so sorry for me running around. But anytime that you need, please, give me a call. It was an honor to be a part of this show. And I'm looking forward, to speak with you in the future.
Thank you so much, Jacare, for your time.
Thank you very much.
Good luck getting your driver flagged down.
Okay. Yes, I'm trying to find a parking space for him to deliver my stuff. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I want to thank Romero Jacare Cavalcanti for the interview. Truly an honor to have you on the show this week and to learn from somebody that's accomplished as much as you've had. I'm not just interested in high-quality jiu-jitsu, which he has, but he's also built one of the top teams ever in jiu-jitsu. So I would really be interested in talking with any elite coach of any sport, and I think we could put them on this podcast, and I think we'd all gain value to that. But you find a very elite coach of jiu-jitsu, and it's perfect fit. And so we'll look to get him on the show again in the future. But just a wealth of information, somebody who is out there, actively still working, but has also had like a track record that's unbelievable. So thanks so much for being on the show, Jacare. And if you enjoyed the interview, tell your friends about it and share this episode with them. If you think that's something that they would enjoy, share it online, send them a text, or just tell them to go to bjjbrick.com, and it should be up near the top if it's within a week or two of it being released. If not, just search for Jacare interview on there, and it'll pop right up. We have a search bar on the website. Guys, we're super high tech. We have our own search bar. Can't beat that. We're like a little mini Google.
We're so high tech. We actually have an app as well. So.
Yeah, yes.
You know, if you like the show and you want to make sure you get every episode, you can always download the app to your phone, and it also has a search function, so you can go back and listen to all your favorite episodes.
Yep. I mean, we're so high tech. Not only do we have a Facebook page, website address, and a YouTube channel. So definitely check us out on our YouTube channel. You may learn how to grill a cheese sandwich.
I actually think I saw Byron made a Instagram post for the podcast. Did you do that this week, Byron?
Yes, I did. We do have Instagram.
That is high tech. And don't forget, we're on Twitter too.
Yeah, we don't tweet much. But we like talking with you guys online and that sort of thing. So wherever you're at, that's where we want to try to be. The easiest way, most consistent way, is to message us on Facebook, on our Facebook thing, and usually 2 out of 3, if not all 3, will see that.
You know, the crazy thing is we've got to know a lot of our listeners from Facebook. And one guy we've got to know who actually came down for our BJJ Brick event is our good buddy Andy Dickey. And what's Andy got going on this week, guys?
Yeah, so Andy shot me a message the other day. Every now and then he just sends me things kind of at random, and they're always fun. And he sent me a quote from the movie with Billy Crystal, and the movie is City Slickers. Byron, you got a clip? Can you play that clip for us real quick?
So here's a clip of Billy Crystal. He's at his kids' school and talking to a bunch of children, kind of like a career day type of thing. And he kind of loses his mind, you know, like as he's trying to describe what his job is. It's not really rewarding, and you can tell he's frustrated. So then he goes into this little rant.
Value this time in your life, kids. Because this is the time in your life when you still have your choices. And it goes by so fast. When you're a teenager, you think you can do anything, and you do. Your 20s are a blur. 30s, you raise your family, you make a little money, and you think to yourself, what happened to my 20s? 40s, you grow a little pot belly, you grow another chin. The music starts to get too loud. One of your old girlfriends from high school becomes a grandmother. 50s, you have a minor surgery. You'll call it a procedure, but it's a surgery. 60s, you'll have a major surgery. The music is still loud, but it doesn't matter because you can't hear it anyway. The 70s, you and the wife retire to Fort Lauderdale. Start eating dinner at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You have lunch around 10, breakfast the night before. Spend most of your time wandering around malls looking for the ultimate soft yogurt and muttering, how come the kids don't call? How come the kids don't call? The 80s, you'll have a major stroke. You end up babbling to some Jamaican nurse who your wife can't stand, but who you call mama. Any questions?
Yeah, kids, any questions?
Yeah, so Andy sent me that quote, and for the listeners that don't know Andy personally, he's in his 60s and still a very active jiu-jitsu practitioner. I really enjoyed training with him when he was in Wichita with us, but he sent me this quote, and I just thought, man, I could write a blog post or a short article about that, and so I went to work on it, and I didn't share this clip or write this article to remind people that hey, this is as good as it's gonna get. It's all downhill from here. That's not really the point. But the point is that as we get older, our jiu-jitsu won't be the same 5 years from now as it is today. And 5 years after that, it's going to be even different. In fact, if you look at Byron, he's about 10 years younger than Gary and I, and Andy's 10 years older. So all of us are in different places in jiu-jitsu, but that doesn't mean that it can't be good. It'll be different 5 years from now, but it can still be good. It might even be better. And really the point is just to value where you are now. Don't waste your time looking back and thinking I should have started sooner. I should have gone to more classes when I was in my 30s. Whatever. And don't get overly concerned about, in 5 years I'm not going to be as athletic as I am. And is there really a point in continuing? I'm going to be 60 when I get my black belt or whatever. Just enjoy today and make the most out of it. Make the most out of every role. Make the most out of every class you go to, every tournament that you can compete in. And I think that's all I was really trying to communicate. And I'm sure that's why Andy shared it with me. So hopefully this will be encouraging and inspiring to our listeners.
You know, the one good thing about jiu-jitsu is Billy Crystal talks about your 40s, you grow a little pot belly and you grow another chin. The good thing about jiu-jitsu, it's going to help us burn some calories and maybe keep that pot belly a little smaller and one less chin, because we definitely don't want to be choked out anymore.
Yeah, I thought the 40s were when one of the girls from high school is already a grandmother.
I thought that was the 30s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gary, we don't know what kind of high school you went to.
No, but you know, this article really hits it home with me. Is, you know, me and Joe, we both in our young 50s there, and I tell you, I don't think Joe and I feel like we're 50. And you know, I know Joe's out there skateboarding. I still feel like I'm 18, as Joe and Byron say with the jokes I'm always saying. But you know, I think jiu-jitsu keeps me young. You know, my knees may hurt a little bit every now and then, but they'd be hurting just as bad, if not more, if I was running. You know, I'd be doing something. And, you know, jiu-jitsu is great. I love the people I hang out with and I've met on the mat. It keeps my brain, you know, sharp. It keeps my muscles strong. It keeps my cardiovascular system doing well. And, you know, it's just really good points. You know, just value your time on the mats. Don't get so caught up in thinking, boy, I wish I would have started, or I wish I would have trained more. You know, I personally think I'm a better grappler today at 51 than I was at 48, than I was at 49. You know, as Joe said, I may not have some of the physical attributes. I do get tired a little bit quicker. I do have to watch, you know, my sleeping, eating, hydration, warm-ups, everything like that a little bit more. But, you know, I enjoy jiu-jitsu more now than I did when I was 35. And, you know, I just think that's the good thing. And, you know, when Andy shares stuff like this, when Joe talks about it, you know, sometimes I do forget about that stuff. And, you know, who am I to compare myself against anybody else? I just need to value my time on the mat, as Andy says, as Joe says, and have fun.
Yeah, no matter what stage you are in or starting jiu-jitsu, there's no point in looking back with regret on any of that. I've interviewed people who started, like, you know, as teenagers and said, man, if I had started a few years earlier, I'd be so much better. Okay, anybody can say that, but you can't change that. There's no point in stressing about it or even thinking about it. You are right now where you're at, and value that time, because it is precious. Like, literally, we're able to spend our time doing jiu-jitsu. Like, we're not having to go out there and forage for food. We're not, you know, in the hospital sick, or, you know, with somebody who, you know, at this time in your life, if you're able to go train, that's awesome. Like, this is like a luxury thing that we're able to do. Value that, and it should be adding to your life and making it benefit, having a benefit for you. But there are a lot of things that could take this and change it for you, to where, you know, you get fired tomorrow, and so you're out looking for a job, and you find a job, but it doesn't pay nearly as well. Maybe the hours are terrible, and you're having to make ends meet for your family. Man, I'll bring this down. But jiu-jitsu could go away for a little while for you. So if you're able to train, go train and enjoy that time that you're able to train, and then look today as a win, even if training's hard.
Byron, I want to take this off the mat real quick.
Okay, here we go. We're throwing elbows on the top rope.
No, you know, off the mat. You know, it's going back to, you know, Joe's article, not this article, but another article, which I'll bring in a second. But you're talking about if we're in the hospital, if we lose a job. You know, the great thing about jiu-jitsu is an article Joe just wrote about, you know, other benefits of jiu-jitsu, your teammates, the different values they bring to you. If you're in the hospital, I guarantee you your jiu-jitsu teammates will be there helping you out, helping your family out, you know, bringing meals, cutting your yard if it needs to be done. As in Joe's case, he just wrote an article. Joe, I hate to say it, but I can't think of your teammate's name who helped you, you know, work on your house. What's his name and the name of his company?
Yeah, we might as well just run with it and do 2 articles this week, huh?
Well, let's go with that article. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Byron, you can plug it in, huh?
Well, let's do the next one. Just give him a quick plug, and we'll save that one for next week, I guess.
I don't want to rip your buddy off, because he deserves he deserves a whole time to himself.
Yeah, so we'll do a full blown in the next episode. But yeah, I have a training partner, Javier San Miguel, and he owns a roofing company south of Houston, where I live. And if you've listened to the show, you probably know that I was flooded out by Hurricane Harvey, and we had a horrible experience getting the inside of our house remodeled. We went with, basically the only contractor we could get. They were hard to find after the hurricane. And after the interior work, we went with, wanted to do the siding and wanted somebody that we could trust. And so we went with my friend Javier, and he put new siding on the outside of the house. And I couldn't be happy with the experience, and look forward to talking more about the article next week. And thank you, Javier, for doing a great job.
Yep. Thank you, Javier. And that's kind of the point I wanted to make is, even if we do have a setback, you're talking about a job there, Byron. Let's say you lose your job. I mean, Byron, you got your job as a firefighter through connections with guys that we rolled with. And it's just, there's so many connections and so many of these people that are on our teams that are going to help us out, that are going to go to bat for us and try everything in their power to help you. And that's what makes Jiu-Jitsu so cool, as Joe and Byron like to joke with me. That's the best part about Jiu-Jitsu, I say.
Yeah, and after the flood, I mean, this is going back a year now, but after the flood, it was my coach and a couple of my teammates they came over and put in countless hours helping us gut the house, helping us get rid of the junk. And the Jiu-Jitsu community is everything for me.
Yeah, it's a community like I've never seen before. We're all different set of people, different social circumstances, but we all come together when we're on that mat, and we all got each other's back, and that is just so awesome.
So again, I want to thank Andy for sharing inspirational stuff with me and sending me messages. I had a good time writing this article. I'm not sure I had as much fun writing this as Byron is having writing his latest audiobook.
Oh man.
When he shared the title with me, Close Encounters of a Different Kind, I was like, Byron, it's not really that kind of show. He's like, no. It's a book about surviving alien abductions. 5 jiu-jitsu techniques for surviving alien abductions.
Awesome.
Now, yeah, well, Gary, you say it's awesome, but from what Byron told me, he came up with this idea from some of the true encounters that you shared with him. So,
yeah. Well, me and Byron have been talking. How Trump is starting his own Space Force, and Byron and I, we decided, we're entrepreneurial type of guys, and we figured we'd be the first people to, be experts at how to take out these aliens, alien abductions with jiu-jitsu. And, Byron ran with it, and Byron started an audiobook. So he's the first person who has it published. And our goal, is to be the official police or official training academy for this new force. So, Byron, tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, this book has a lot of research done in it. And I'm not really a big into the aliens type of a guy. But, hearing some of Gary's tales about what happened to him up there is just gruesome. So
yeah, the probing was terrible.
A lot of it is about what techniques will not work for you. Like Gary one time tried to work a turtle guard on these guys, got probed.
That was bad,
disastrous. So
have you ever seen Deliverance?
Was it like that, Gary?
It was kind of like that, sir.
And another alien, he tried to do a triangle choke. He's like, hey, they got huge heads. This will be a great triangle choke. They have almost no shoulders, and they don't really have much of an arm tone. So even the triangle choke was ineffective against these aliens. And same thing with the rear naked choke. The guy's neck was so skinny. Gary applied the triangle or the rear naked choke, and there was still space left for his neck to rotate freely. And at that point in time, the alien just kind of produced some kind of a slime that still to this day, I could smell it on Gary sometimes. And it's not necessarily a positive thing. So that's why Gary is sometimes kind of slimy on the mats.
But it's hard for people to submit me because of it.
Yeah, that's true. So you got that going for you. And you have a natural affinity. It's so weird. It's a little bit not in the book, but ever since he tried to turtle guard the alien, he's been playing turtle guard like crazy. He keeps going back to it. But some of the techniques that do work, so these are a little bit unconventional. Like a lot of them, if they're on Earth, will have an air hose because they can't breathe our air. So just the hose clamp. That's one of the best ones. It's the same as a choke, and you just got to clamp the hose down. And so we go into different locks that you could do with the hose, and it's much like working a gi. The worm guard is effective with the hose, and that sort of thing.
Are you saying with the hose or hose, like HOSE?
With the air hose, you could wrap it around. And
okay.
But that was one of the more effective things that you typically don't think of inside the box, is having to deal with an air cord that an alien can have on.
Wait, so what are you doing with the hose and the box?
Well, the hose is outside the box because typically we don't grapple with hoses. So you have to go outside the box, get the hose, clamp it down, and starve him of whatever sort of a gas he prefers to breathe. Now, these aliens also have the gift of flight. And it appears they can still fly from any jiu-jitsu position. They don't need to flap any kind of wings or anything like that. I don't know, maybe their giant heads are producing the flight. So if you have obtained like mount, basically you have them in guard because they just lift up and flip over, and now you're fighting from guard. So mount's not the best way to attack the aliens. We've discovered that just getting on the back, even if they fly around, it's still the best place to be.
Well, they probably get tired if they're flying around and you're on their back. So that's probably a good move. I like your idea.
So are these are not like little green men. These are like Superman type aliens. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know what the rules are with little. I was thinking the little guys with the big heads and the big eyes. Turns out they can fly. I've just made that up. Maybe they can't fly. I don't know. I don't know what the lore behind such characters are.
Yeah, but the one thing Byron figured out, when these guys came to town, what would happen is wherever they'd land, they didn't make an octagon. They made a large circle.
Yes.
Some people call it a crop circle. And that was the ring. You had to stay inside the crop circle. So that was one thing Byron didn't realize right off the bat, and he kept getting penalized for fleeing the circle.
And it was at a cornfield, and they found corn cobs everywhere, Gary.
And a lot of those corn cobs were rotten, so we don't know what happened to them.
But the book will likely never be released because it's not actually being made. Just to tell you what just happened in case you're new to the show, a lot of times at the end of the show, we'll make up a fake audiobook and bat it around on the mat until we think we've had enough. Has it had enough, guys, or do you have some more stuff for
It's
this
definitely
audiobook?
had enough, but the only thing I want to tell you, if you do buy the audiobook within the next 30 days, you get a free Crop Circle Jiu-Jitsu gi patch. So definitely check it out.
Even though alien grappling is generally no gi, but you can have the patch anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, here we go. I'd like to introduce a little clip with my friend Jeremy Parrish. All right, my friends, I'd like to take a little break here and talk about the We Defy Foundation, and we're having an event here in Wichita, Kansas, and I'd like to get the word out. So I'm bringing my friend Jeremy on here. Jeremy, what's happening, my man?
Not much, you?
Doing good. I'm excited for the seminar, and really the whole weekend looks great.
Yeah, we're really excited. This is our third We Defy seminar that we'll be doing. We've had a lot of luck with the past events. We're looking to continue building on that and making this a bigger and bigger event each year. With that being said, this year, Professor Gina Franson will be our guest instructor. She is part of, the We Defy team, phenomenal black belt. We're excited to have her in because she's going to bring a unique perspective to our gym, as she is much smaller than our average weight. On October 6th, there will be a co-ed seminar from 10 to 12. And then on October 7th, there will be a women's only seminar, which will be covering completely different material than the co-ed seminar. So if you're a lady and you're looking at coming up for a weekend, it's a great opportunity to get 2 solid days in with Professor Franson covering a wide variety of, jiu-jitsu. The one thing that's not on the seminar that I did want to talk about, or not on the flyer, is that after the seminar, there will be an hour to an hour and a half open mat afterwards. So, that'll give everybody an opportunity to get some cross training in as well. And then accompanying Gina Franson will be Brian Marvin. He's the president of the We Defy Foundation. So he'll be coming up to, share his knowledge if he can, support Professor Franson's seminar, and then also, talk about the We Defy Foundation and what they do and how they accomplish that. So it's looking to be a really good weekend.
Yeah, that looks awesome. Last year, I think it was Brian Marvin was up here, and it's just great having him just back, even just to hang out with and get a little bit of mat time with him. And really excited to meet Gina Franson. I know we've had her on the show a little while ago. She's great to talk to, and now it's going to be great to get on the mats. And this will be at Fox Fitness here in Wichita, Kansas. Say October 6th and 7th, and the 6th is the co-ed, and the 7th is women's only. Is that correct?
Correct. And they're both 10 a.m. to noon with, like I said, an hour to an hour and a half open mat afterwards.
Yeah, and you want to do that, so that'll be fun. Real quick, Jeremy, tell me a little bit about We Defy Foundation.
We Defy Foundation is a completely, it's a nonprofit. Their mission is to help disabled combat veterans through jiu-jitsu. So, they sponsor athletes to cover their first year of training. And if there is a physical disability, they also work with that veteran to, get them a gi that fits them. So, dealing with veterans with amputations or any other disabilities, they work with them to make sure they get proper fitting training materials. So that's really awesome. They've grown very fast. There's a lot of affiliated gyms. If you go to the We Defy Foundation's website, which is wedefyfoundation.com, you're able to look at their affiliated gyms. So if you're ever out training or out on vacation and looking to train, you can always check and see if there's a affiliated program there. So that they kind of work with the veterans and the gym has been vetted by the We Defy Foundation.
That's awesome. So for more information, check out wedefyfoundation.org. We'll put a link in the show notes to everything. You can find the information about the seminar there as well. We'll put the flyer up, and hope to see you guys on the mats. That'd be awesome. So thank you, Jeremy, for hopping on here and talking about the We Defy event, and he's really organized this thing here in Wichita. If you're able to get to Wichita, we'd love to see you at this event. Gina Franson and Brian Marvin, great weekend. The first day is a co-ed, second day is women's only. We'd like to have you here. Gary, last time the women's only seminar, the wig didn't quite cut it. He got through about 15 minutes and they kicked him out because they figured him out. But he did get a little bit of information. We'll see how Gary does this week.
Well, this time I'm going to make sure to put lipstick on. So I think I got a better costume.
Pro tip, Gary, shave your legs.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about that. Thanks for the tip, Joe.
That might have been part of the giveaway.
He typically has them shaved anyway.
Well, it wasn't. I didn't shave him until I got abducted, and the aliens did it. So that's what happened.
Check out a link in the show notes, not for any aliens, but for the We Defy information. I do know the co-ed seminar is $50. I'm not sure about the women's only seminar. It might be a little different. I'm not sure about that. But check out the information in the show notes, and we'd love to see you guys there. I'd like to give a quick shout out to our Patreon supporters. It means a lot to us that some people have heard the podcast and say, hey, I want these guys to keep doing what they're doing and do even better in the future. And that's really what we're looking at, building a bigger and better podcast. Shout out to Michael, Christopher, and Paul for their continued support. It means a lot to us that you guys are doing that, and it really helps build this show into what it's become today. If you want to support us on Patreon, there's a link in the show notes and a little video describing what it's about. But really, we'll maybe add a 5-inch BJJ Brick gi patch and a sticker of BJJ Brick, and kind of as a token of our appreciation for what you're doing for us. And you're also invited if you want to join our private Facebook group. A lot of times we'll throw on questions. Hey, going to have Jacare on. He may have anything you want me to ask him. And that sort of thing. So you get a little bit of behind-the-scenes information and a little bit of access to some, maybe get a question to ask to one of our guests. So that's always fun. If you want to join the private Facebook group as a Patreon supporter, send me an email with the link to your Facebook page, and I'll get you hooked up. That would be cool. So looking forward to getting new members, but man, really thank our continued support from Michael, Christopher, and Paul. Next week, we have an interesting episode, gentlemen, and you have a little time to prepare. Next week will be our end of the month episode where we throw a topic on the table and we talk about it, chew on it a little while. And last week episode was wildly successful and everybody seemed to really enjoy it. We talked about white belts. And next week, why not, this end of the month episode, talk about blue belts. So all the blue belts gather around and wait with eager anticipation for next week's episode. We're going to be giving advice, sharing stories from our own experiences of blue belts, and just kind of helping you guys out the best we can anyway. Guys, had a great episode. Really want to thank Jacare again for hopping on here, and look forward to learning from him more in the future. Go follow him on social media, and if you're interested in becoming an affiliate underneath him, he gave you some information how to do that, so that would be cool. As always, stay sweaty, my friends.
And don't forget to shower.
Train hard, train smart, survive alien abductions. We'll see you on the mats, guys.
You got to get out of that crop circle.
I like that, Joe. Survive alien abductions.
Thank you for listening. I hope you find the time today to roll. After all, the best way to get better at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.